and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About It. This is Susan Johnson, and I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien.
Hey, it's great to be back on Let's Talk About It. I had a rough time of it last week, and I even missed the Boombox Parade for the first time in like 30 years. I mean, it was tough. I was diagnosed with COVID, tested positive for COVID the day before the parade.
All right, I did the test, and I saw that he was positive, but then I made him get some Prolixin.
No, it's not Prolixin.
What is it? Paxlovid.
Paxlovid.
All right, there we go. You got the Paxlovid.
Rupar knows.
All right, Rupar. He's got this, yeah.
I got Paxlovid immediately, and almost immediately from Dr. Anwar, and you know, and I got better by the day, but it took 2 or 3 days. But now I am COVID-free.
Yes,
Happy to be back on Let's Talk About It with Matt Rupar and Susan Johnson.
All right, Dennis O'Brien.
Yeah.
All right, we're so pleased to have you here. And you know, for the second half of the show, we're going to have a great chance to talk with some of the people who have been instrumental in creating the Wyndham Prevention Coalition Summer Youth Leadership Academy. And that is our Sergeant Josh Clark, and also Karen Ravenel-Bloom, who is the director for the program here in Willimantic. And it's a program that was started by the Willimantic Police, and it connects our youth from the high school and from some of the regional high schools with the police department and the functions of government, so they can understand how the government works on the state, local, and federal level. So it's really quite a great program.
It's great to see kids spending their summer days learning about how life is in the U.S., especially about how the government works. It's very important. It requires that in order for democracy to work. And to see those young people with police officers and with Karen Ravenel-Bloom on Facebook, I haven't been there, but I saw them on Facebook. I saw them with you down at the Capitol, Susan, and on Facebook. And it's just so good to see them being active in the summertime and learning all about leadership, because we all know we need leadership. We need leadership now. We need it in the future, and the future leaders are the young people.
That's right.
And they've got to be They've got to start training at a young age.
It's good, and it's excellent. And one of the things about being a leader is it's really good to understand all the things that you're working on as a leader. And so one way to do that is, first of all, understand where you are, how things work, and whether you're teaching a particular subject in school, or whether you're a legislator or a council person or a congressman. Understanding how these programs work and how you can effectively represent your constituents is something that we all need to continuously work on, because things change every minute.
Yeah, when I was a judge in the children's court, I used to talk to kids all the time, and I'd make it a point of asking every kid, "Do you like school?" And a lot of kids would say no. I'd say, well, I didn't like school that much when I was young, too, and I paid a price for it. I said it really made my development a lot slower than it should have been. It took me a long time to get it together. In fact, it was 2 years in the Army that really straightened me out, and that was when I was 21 to 23, and that's pretty old to get straightened out. And, so I asked him, I said, what do you think school is all about? I don't know. I said, well, it's teaching you about the world you live in, about your environment, and about where you are and who you are. I said, and that is something, you can learn it in a lot of different ways. You don't have to learn it in school, but you know what? It's easier if you do. If you start out listening to teachers and police officers and social workers and parents and teachers in school who know a lot more than you do about a lot of things when you're a kid. And I didn't listen as well as I should have, and believe me, I know that I should have.
Yeah, exactly. One thing about school and books and that kind of thing is it really organizes the information so that you get it in an organized way from people who have studied these things in the past. And so it really does help to have everything organized so you can once you learn what's happened before, you can take that and come up with ideas of your own more easily, and you'll have a background in what it is you're suggesting.
When I was a kid back in the 40s and 50s, you didn't have to know that much either. There wasn't as much to learn, but life is so much more complicated now with, all this technology, the internet, iPhones, streaming. You have so many different choices as to how you can learn. And, you got to make the right choices. You can't just watch garbage on television.
Well, you know what, Dennis? One of the things that I liken the state of Connecticut to the rest of the country. That is, we have 169 towns here in Connecticut. We have 169 different types of municipalities with different types of government. Also, we have 169 different economies. And I am pretty sure that most of the people don't know what's going on in the town next door, what kind of government they have, what the economy is like, what the demographics are like, how the schools do. They focus maybe on their own area, but not understanding maybe what the surrounding towns do. The same is true for the country. This country has 50 states and 50 different state constitutions. And so we have different climates, different demographics, different economies all throughout the country. So to be able to understand those things and understand how complicated everything is, then you add in different, our different economic systems in different parts of the state, how things work. It gets very complicated after a while, don't you think, Dennis?
So, like I said, it's a lot more complicated than it was when I was a kid. No, there's no doubt about it. And like Matt Rupar is a young guy, and he grew up in much more complicated times. And it's much more important for people to know as much as they possibly can about their environment, about the surroundings, about the people around them, the institutions and whatnot. And one way to do that is to listen to all the shows on WILI.
Yeah, and listen to Let's Talk About It, especially.
Especially Let's Talk About It. I mean, we are the premier show. We're the bellwether show. We've been here for 25 years or so. Susan has anyway. I came along a little later. Susan was a pioneer in that regard. And I actually was asked to be on the show, but I was in the process of running for office, and I couldn't do it. I was running for a seat in the probate court.
That's right.
Which I won in 1998. That was 26 years ago, and I couldn't go on the show. So Susan got the great privilege of co-hosting Let's Talk About It with Alan Giordano.
Back in the day.
And that was quite an adventure. I think I still have a lot of the audio tapes of her early shows, because I used to listen to the show. I would tape it, and then I would give her a critique when she got home, and she didn't like that very much.
No, I said,
And after a while, I stopped. I said, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah. It was really a lot of fun having Alan there, because Alan and I we would really go at fighting. He was right wing, I was left wing, and we had a guest in the middle whose eyes would pop out during every show because we were so vociferous. But I
think some of the guests were frightened by the level of the. It was a very contentious show, but it was really informative. It was a great show.
We had a lot of fun. Yeah.
Maybe I'll let Rupar borrow some of my tapes, and you can listen to some of those tapes, and I'm sure you can still play them. And they're basically audio tapes, and they I'm sure it'd be interesting. Now that you think of it, I'm going to go home and put some on tonight after the show, and listen to some of them, because I know that. Pretty sure the first guest that we had on when I joined it with you later on was probably Barbara McGrath, and I think Bill Curry was our second guest, and we had some great guests. I mean,
yes.
And we had
Governor Malloy.
Governor Malloy was much later.
Much later, but nevertheless, we had Governor Malloy. But back when Alan and I had the show, we had. A number of people who were pretty well known. I think Bill Curry was on the first show too, with me and Alan.
He might have been. He was a regular guest, and Joe Courtney was a very regular.
Oh
guest.
Yes, very very.
Joe Courtney was. In fact, Joe Courtney came here right after a big rally up at UConn when he was running for Congress, and the first time he won. And he was a big rally up at UConn. I think it was the last weekend before the election, and he was wearing a UConn cap. And Jim Calhoun had been at the rally, the coach, and Joe was totally excited, and he was looking forward. He got a great reception. I think Ben, who's those guys that did the movie? Those two guys that Oh God, the guy that was married. I can't remember. A big star actor was at the thing too, and at the event. And Joe was so excited, and he ended up winning that race by a very small margin.
I think that was the recount, the first time that he won. We did the recount, and he did win. It was by, I think, 81 votes.
Something like that.
And there had been some kind of a mix-up in how the vote was counted initially. But fortunately, it was by such a short margin that we were able to go back and get Joe Courtney in there. I was part of the recount. I was overseeing some of the recount. And as part of that group, the Help America Vote changes that occurred after the, with Al Gore and Bush. And then they created that law, Help America Vote. And I was going around with other lawyers to make sure the local registrars were, being responsive to the voters as they were making their votes. So that was a great thing. I went to Help America Vote training. I went all around. It was fun. I did it.
My turn. I didn't want to lose this thought, but I got to tell you this.
Yes.
I have to say one thing, is that after Joe won that election,
yes,
he did an ad for us saying that he thought he won the election because he was on Let's Talk About It the weekend before the vote.
All right.
He said that.
That was very good.
Yes, he did an ad for us, and that was fabulous.
Well, the other thing is, one of the things that I've enjoyed with Let's Talk About It, the fact that we have this sense of community here, we have a wonderful radio station that's local, is also we have cable access. And back then we had cable access too. And it was just kind of brand new back then. And one of the things I did is I set him up in our dining room, and I did a video of Joe and sent it over to the cable access people. And we did a video in the 2nd Congressional District with him. So that was another thing that we had done that had, another way to have a sense of community and know what's going on is through cable access. Now, they've kind of limited it, but I want to see it come back through with adding streaming so that we can get back on track with more community activities.
Yeah, well, anyway, Matt can tell us a lot about the shows. There's a lot of new shows, one of which is yours. Let's have a plug.
Right. Yeah, all right, Matt, tell us about it.
Tell us about your show.
Come on.
Homegrown, local music from Willimantic in Connecticut.
All right. And it's what time?
4:05 every Friday.
Every Friday.
Precedes just before Let's Talk About It.
Just before Let's Talk About It, so you know it's in a good time spot.
And I don't know, Matt, this would be outside of Matt's format, but I'd like to come on the show and do a show on Bob Dylan, even though Bob Dylan isn't local. I think it's time that some of these younger listeners that you have get introduced to the great Bob Dylan, starting with his stuff that back in 1961, and all the way to his latest album, which is about 4 years old.
Well,
he's still touring, and he's 83 years old, and people are still going to see him, and they say he's doing great. He definitely doesn't have the pipes that he had back then, but he has the great lyrics, and he always has great people in his band.
And he won the Nobel Prize for poetry.
Oh yeah, of course.
So,
he's the only rock and roll star that ever won the Nobel Prize for poetry.
Yeah.
He's more of a poet than any other rock and roller, as far as I'm concerned. But I am biased because I'm a big Bob fan. Everybody knows it. John Tewitt knows it. I get John Tewitt every once in a while. I will try to influence John Tewitt to play a Bob Dylan tune that is not "Lay Lady Lay" or Mr. Tambourine Man, or one that everybody knows. The few tunes that made it onto AM radio, I get him to play them on the Vinyl Frontier, and he does, and he plays a lot of them, and I always complain that he plays more Beatles than Dylan. And that's to make Wayne happy, because Wayne is probably as big a Beatles fan as I am a Dylan fan, at least.
I love both. I grew up in that era too, and I listened to both Bob Dylan and the Beatles pretty much exclusively.
Well, I this afternoon, as I was in the swimming pool for a while, I had the Bob Dylan 30th anniversary concert, which was held at Madison Square Garden. 30 years, it was about 1991, 92. And you had all these Neil Young and all these, and slow hands, Eric Clapton and George Harrison and all these people there with Dylan singing doing Dylan songs, Stevie Wonder. I mean, it's a great album, and I keep telling Tuitt, if you want to play some covers of Bob Dylan, that's the place to go, because he likes to. John Tuitt likes to play covers. He plays a lot of Dylan covers. Anyway, you got that show, and you are you're doing quite well. I've heard lots of rave reviews from the community. And Matt Rupar's show is our local music is a big hit. Yes. And so you have every just about every day we have 2 shows back to back.
Yes.
Okay, and that's starting Monday through Friday.
Correct.
Okay, and that's from 4. So it goes from like around 4:05 to 5:55.
Correct.
2 shows.
Exactly.
Okay, and you're involved in all of them.
Every one of them.
That's right, because you're doing the technical stuff.
Yes, sir.
Except for on your own show, you're doing it all.
Doing it all.
Doing it all, yeah. Do you have guests on your own show?
Not yet. I want to.
Okay, I was going to say.
It's hard to get local musicians to want to come in and play sometimes.
Well,
I'm trying, though.
Well, you got to come in and talk about their music. I mean, they don't have to play for the whole show.
Right.
They can talk music, too. Music's fun to talk about.
Well, you can also figure out, part of the thing with the new technology, and it's not so new to us at the Capitol or people who do meetings, but Zoom technology might be a way to get them in here or on the air through Zoom. And so, once you set up for a Zoom link, I would imagine you'd be able to stream right through to the
I think so, yeah.
So I think getting the Zoom capacity is one thing to do. You could just check it out. You and I could do a Zoom chat, and then after that, you could figure out how to Zoom with some of the other musicians you'd like to get on. And I'm sure we've got quite a few in this area because of the universities. They've got a lot of arts people all over the place here. So to be able to Zoom people in would be a great way to. They could come in, do the Zoom, and they wouldn't necessarily have to be in the studio. And while we're talking about local musicians.
Wait, you're going to another topic now?
Yeah,
I thought it was my turn.
No, I want to. Well,
right.
You're going to like this because Bruce John is playing at Click today.
Yeah.
And I am going to be with, as you'll hear soon when we talk to the people who have done this wonderful program with the students. So we're going to have, as I said, Sergeant Josh Clark and Karen Ravenel Bloom, the director of the Student Leadership Academy. But Click, which also does great work, and they are a wonderful group that is working on agricultural and development here and working with small agricultural farm producers to actually have a possibility of expanding opportunities for restaurants and more farming in this area. They're going to have Bruce John there, and they're having a celebration starting at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, that's right. 6 to 8, I believe, at Click.
Yes.
It's in North Windham. Oh, it's in Willimantic, actually.
Well, it's right across almost from the St. Joseph's, nursing facility. It's in the old KFC building.
Yeah, that's probably technically in Windham, in the Windhams.
I think it might be over the line.
I think probably its mailing address is Willimantic. There's a lot of places that are on the borders.
Now you can tell he's from the post office.
I did work in the post office back then, but not in Willimantic. That was in my Hartford days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked in the post office for about 3 or 4 years in Hartford. As you probably know.
I do.
And so I know a little bit about that. But I also, from being in the probate court, I know that, I know the stuff about Scotland. And Scotland has about 4 or 5 zip codes. It does, and including some of the
We have 4 here in Wyndham.
But Scotland is small compared to Wyndham. Yeah, anyway, there are a lot of people who technically live in outside of the city of Willimantic, who have city zip codes 06226. Mm-hmm. Okay, just for your.
All right, we're winding up there, Dennis. So
just for the information of our wonderful listeners and Matt Rupar.
Yes, Matt. So we want to just, we're going to be going for a break in 2 more minutes, but I just wanted to just say how grateful I am to be able to have the great things that we do here in town put on local radio and have Matt Rupar and now everything for the hours between 4 and 6, Monday through Friday, are going to be things about our local community. So I hope that people who hear this spread the word. And I blasted on my email website, on my website at the Capitol, at susan.johnson@cga.ct.gov. And what we have is that, and then I post our shows there, and then they are also on YouTube. So you can get these shows, and you can also tell us if you have some questions or you'd like to have a show to focus on some of the things that you're doing.
Yeah, we're always looking for, the guest is the key to our show.
Yes.
Having a great guest. We're very lucky if we don't have a guest sitting in the room. We got Matt Rupar to talk to.
Yeah.
But I mean that's definitely an advantage.
Yes,
I mean,
it is.
It's not just the two of us, and that's always true, and that is great. So it has really been a wonderful 20 some odd years being on WILI with Matt for a long time, a big part of that.
How many years, Matt?
15.
15 years.
Wow.
All right, Matt. Yes.
Wow, we had this guy Tucker on before,
Yep, Chris.
and he lasted with us maybe 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Ryan Tucker.
Ryan Tucker
Ryan.
from Killingly,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was with us for Boss Man Tucker, they called him back then. And then he was replaced by, and all of a sudden Rupar showed up.
All right, Rupar.
Matt
yes, we got
Rupar.
that. Yep.
Took charge, and he's been there ever since, 15 years, and now he's a DJ doing his own show.
Yeah.
And he's got the best day of the week. He's got Friday at 4:05 right before. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Time for a break.